stage!
Order! Counsel, control yourself!
Guard before yan! Lo! Then! And man!
Just wait and watch.
A wealthy woman walks into Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom wearing designer confidence instead of humility. Her heels strike the floor like applause she believes the room owes her. Her sunglasses remain on just a few seconds too long. Her expression suggests she is not here to answer to the law, but to be mildly inconvenienced by it. And within moments, everyone realizes something dangerous. She does not see this courtroom as a place of justice. She sees it as a stage where she is the star. Her name is Bianca Sterling. A woman whose net worth has become her shield, whose success has become her justification, whose arrogance has become her identity. The kind of person who believes rules are suggestions and consequences are for other people. The kind of person who speaks to others as though gravity itself bends for her convenience. But this morning she is not facing developers, employees, or assistants who scramble to please her. She is facing Judge Caprio, a man whose courtroom has seen every form of pride, pain, desperation, and regret a city can produce. A man who listens. A man who observes. A man who understands far more than he ever says aloud. Yet even he is not prepared for what Bianca Sterling is about to say. Because in the next few minutes she will say words so shockingly disrespectful, so deeply rooted in entitlement, that the entire room falls silent, not from fear but from disbelief. And what happens next is not anger. Not shouting. Not chaos. It is justice. This is a moment that exposes the difference between wealth and character for everyone watching. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe and comment real judge stories, if you believe respect in the courtroom still matters. The moment Bianca Sterling enters that courtroom, her wealth isn't the real issue. Many people come before Judge Caprio with money. Some are successful, some comfortable, some barely holding their lives together. What matters here is something deeper. How a person chooses to value other human beings. Bianca does not speak to others, she speaks at them. Her tone suggests hierarchy, not conversation. She believes her achievements place her above the rules that guide ordinary citizens. And in that belief, she reveals the central conflict of this story. When power is measured in money, humility disappears. When humility disappears, respect follows. And when respect disappears, justice must intervene. This isn't a case about a simple traffic violation. It's about the meaning of accountability. It is about the silent expectations that wealth whispers into the hearts of those who hold it too tightly. It is about whether the courtroom is a place where money speaks louder than responsibility. This story reminds us that character is revealed not when life is easy, but when someone believes they cannot be challenged. And Bianca Sterling is moments away from making that belief painfully clear. If you're watching this and you believe that respect, humility, and accountability still matter in every courtroom, take a moment to support the channel. Subscribe and comment real judge stories, to help more people see moments where truth, fairness, and dignity still prevail. The courtroom is quiet that morning, the kind of quiet that feels earned rather than enforced. Wooden benches polished by time hold people from every corner of the city. Workers with tired hands, parents clutching paperwork, young drivers hoping for leniency. No one is wealthy here, not in the way Bianca Sterling is. Most are simply trying to get through the day with dignity intact. The air carries a faint echo of shuffling papers and low whispers, the soft hum of fluorescent lights above. A wall of warm sunlight falls across the seal of the court, giving it a gravity that cannot be purchased or negotiated. Here everyone is equal. Here titles do not matter. Here only truth speaks. Judge Caprio sits with the ease of a man who has spent years learning when to be firm and when to be kind. His presence is steady, grounded. He reads from a file, his glasses resting low on his nose, each line taken in carefully, not just as text, but as a story of a real person standing before him. In the corner, a court officer stands watch. Not tense. Just aware. Prepared. Present. At the back, an older woman clasps her purse with both hands. A young man rolls the strap of his backpack between his fingers. A mother rocks her baby gently. These details matter. They remind us that justice does not happen in grand speeches, but in rooms like this, where life quietly unfolds. Then the door opens. Bianca Sterling enters without looking around. She does not acknowledge the others waiting their turn. She does not notice the quiet respect that settles naturally in this space. Her eyes scan the room the way someone scans a receipt, evaluating, calculating, ranking. Her heels strike the floor like punctuation marks. Everyone notices her. But not in the way she believes. Bianca Sterling doesn't simply walk toward the bench, she performs the motion. Her steps are measured, deliberate, as though every part of her has been designed to draw the eye. The fabric of her coat moves like water, the kind only found in boutiques that do not list prices. Her jewelry is quiet but not subtle, elegance chosen not to impress but to remind. She stops in front of Judge Caprio without waiting to be invited. She does not greet him. She does not acknowledge the clerk. She does not nod to the courtroom officer who has stepped slightly closer just in case. Instead, she looks around, taking in the room with a frown so small it might be mistaken for concentration, until you realize it is disapproval. A silent critique of a world beneath her standards. Judge Caprio lifts his eyes. "Good morning, Miss Sterling." She exhales, slow and controlled, as though the words he has spoken were an inconvenience. "It's Sterling, Bianca." The correction is not necessary. It is done for effect. To show control. To establish hierarchy. A hierarchy she believes herself at the top of. The people watching notice everything, her posture, her tone, the small smirk that flickers at the corner of her mouth. They don't need volume to feel arrogance. It travels differently. It is sensed, not heard. Judge Caprio nods, unfazed. "We're here to review your citation regarding a red light violation. We will go through the details together." Bianca shifts her weight to one hip, her hand settling on her handbag, not holding it but resting on it like one rests a hand on a cymbal. "Can we move through this quickly? I have a meeting in an hour. Some of us have demanding schedules." The words drop like pebbles into still water. A mother in the third row stills her rocking. A young man's hands stop moving. The court officer's jaw tightens, not much but enough. No raised voices. No dramatic gestures. Just the first crack in the air. It is not the disrespect itself. It is the belief behind it. A belief that time, worth, and consequence belong only to her. Judge Caprio adjusts the file in front of him, not hurried, not delayed, simply precise. His composure is the kind that comes from decades of seeing every version of stress, panic, and pride that a courtroom can draw out of a person. Bianca Sterling, however, reads that calm as something else, something she believes she can influence. "Miss Sterling, according to the report, you were observed driving through a red light at the intersection of Willow and Grant. The officer noted that the pedestrian in the crosswalk had the right of way." Bianca's response arrives before he finishes. Yes, I'm aware. Or at least I'm aware of what was written." Her voice frames the officer's report as a nuisance rather than documentation. A technicality. A chore she must pretend to acknowledge. Judge Caprio continues, steady. "The officer also noted that when asked to provide your license, you stated that your attorney handles all matters of this nature and that." She interrupts again. "Correct. I don't carry my license. It's inefficient. My attorney deals with all tickets and municipal interactions. It's faster for everyone involved. I was actually late to a conference call because of that officer's delay." Her pause is intentional. The courtroom hears the unspoken word, interference. Someone in the gallery inhales sharply. Judge Caprio does not react. He does not need to. "Miss Sterling, the law requires all drivers to have their license on their person when operating a vehicle. Your attorney cannot provide it for you in the moment. It is a basic safety requirement." Bianca lets out a short, humorless breath that mimics a laugh. "Your Honor, with respect, my work contributes significantly to this city. I manage developments that bring revenue, housing, commerce. I don't have the luxury of being delayed by routine procedures every time a traffic light behaves unexpectedly. My time," she emphasizes the word, "is valuable." There it is. Not shouted. Not sharp. Just revealed. A truth she thought the room would understand and accept. The young man in the back lowers his eyes. The mother's grip tightens on the child she holds. The court officer shifts, one step, maybe two, closer. Judge Caprio's face does not change. His voice remains warm, but its warmth now has weight. "Miss Sterling, everyone's time is valuable. That is why we respect the laws that protect us all. No one is exempt from them." Bianca tilts her head as though listening to someone unfamiliar. She does not argue. She simply smiles. The kind of smile that says, "We'll see." The courtroom settles into a tense stillness, not silent but waiting. Waiting for something to happen that everyone senses but cannot yet name. Bianca Sterling stands at the center of it, unaware that every breath, every word, every tilt of her chin is etching a memory into the minds of the people watching. Judge Caprio turns one page in the file. "This intersection, Miss Sterling, is in a school zone. The recorded time was 2:58 p.m. dismissal hour. Children were present." Bianca doesn't flinch. That particular school zone creates traffic backups that are unreasonable. The timing is poorly designed. I've raised the issue before. Her tone carries the subtle implication that decisions should shift according to her convenience. The officer reported that a crossing guard had to pull 2 students back when your vehicle entered the intersection. Bianca's eyes narrow, not with guilt but calculation. I never struck anyone. No one was harmed. And I had complete control of my vehicle. If the crossing guard felt the need to overreact, that's not my responsibility. The room reacts in a way no one speaks. Shoulders stiffen. A father in the 3rd row shakes his head slowly. A grandmother crosses her arms tightly, pressing her lips together to keep from speaking. Judge Caprio closes the file, not abruptly, not dramatically, just firmly. Ms. Sterling, the purpose of a school zone is to prevent the possibility of harm, not to respond after harm occurs. Bianca lifts her chin. With respect, Your Honor, there was no harm. And I do not have time to be lectured about hypothetical dangers. I have built businesses, properties, entire employment structures. I do not need to be told how to manage risk. There is a shift in the room, so subtle yet unmistakable. Disbelief turns to something sharper. Something cold. A man in a maintenance uniform murmurs beneath his breath, not loud enough to be heard but clear enough to feel. People like her don't learn until it's too late. Bianca hears the murmur, not the words, just the tone. She turns, eyes sweeping the gallery with a disdain she does not bother to disguise. I understand that many here may not be familiar with high-pressure decision-making, she says, voice smooth, polite, cutting. But some of us must prioritize tasks that actually affect the city's growth. I cannot structure my day around minor infractions. The gallery stills. The disrespect is no longer subtle. No longer suggested. No longer implied. It has arrived. Judge Caprio lets the silence remain. He does not rush to fill it. He looks at Bianca the way someone looks at a puzzle piece that has just revealed its full picture. Miss Sterling, he says, his voice gentle enough to be startling, do you believe that your contributions to the city place you above its laws? Bianca smiles again, that small, confident curve that comes from years of being told yes. I believe, she says carefully, that people like me are the reason these laws can be funded, maintained, and enforced. So yes, perhaps there should be flexibility. No gasp follows. No whispers. No movement. The room simply freezes. Because in that moment, Bianca Sterling has not just dismissed the law. She has dismissed everyone else in the room. Their work. Their time. Their lives. She has said without using the words, your importance is conditional. Mine is absolute. And that is when the temperature in the courtroom truly changes. Not loud. Not sudden. Not dramatic. Just real. The shift from tension to reckoning. A quiet voice breaks the tension. Your Honor, may I speak? Every head turns. A woman rises slowly from the 2nd row, not dramatic, not emotional, just steady. She wears a simple crossing guard vest folded neatly over her arm, the reflective strips worn from weather and use. Her hands are calloused, not from privilege, but from years of standing at the edge of pavement guiding children who cannot yet judge the speed of a car. Judge Caprio nods gently. Please step forward, ma'am. State your name. Elena Ruiz, Your Honor. I'm the crossing guard at Willow and Grant. Bianca watches her with the faint smile of someone confident that nothing said here can touch her. She folds her arms, casual, unbothered. Mrs. Ruiz continues. That day I had my sign up. The light was red. Children were lining up to cross. One of them, my grandson, was holding my hand. He's 7. She pauses, not to gain sympathy but to make sure she is understood. When Miss Sterling's car came through that intersection, it wasn't slowing down. It wasn't hesitating. It was moving like the rules were optional. Bianca shifts, her smile thinning. Mrs. Ruiz doesn't raise her voice. I pulled 2 children back. Not because I was panicking. Not because I overreacted. But because I've seen what happens when drivers think they're in control moments before they discover they are not. She looks directly at Bianca now. Not with anger. With clarity. You said earlier that no one was hurt, so it doesn't matter. But Miss Sterling, that's the kind of thinking that gets people killed. I've seen it. I've stood in the street holding a crying child while an ambulance siren screamed in the distance. The harm you're talking about, the harm you think is hypothetical, is real. And irreversible. A silence settles like dust across the room. Mrs. Ruiz's voice softens. When my grandson got home that day, he asked me why the lady in the silver car didn't stop. I didn't have an answer. She steps back, folding her vest against her chest. That's all, Your Honor. No applause follows. No whispers. The room doesn't move. Because some truths don't require reactions. They require reflection. Bianca's face is no longer relaxed. The smile is gone. Her jaw tightens but her chin stays lifted, pride refusing to retreat. Judge Caprio nods once to Mrs. Ruiz, a gesture of respect that means everything and needs no explanation. Then he returns his gaze to Bianca Sterling. The moment of reckoning now has a witness. Judge Caprio lets several seconds pass after Mrs. Ruiz returns to her seat. Seconds that feel heavier than words. He doesn't need the room to be quiet. The room chooses to be quiet. Then, slowly he straightens in his chair. This small movement is enough for everyone to feel it. The shift. The moment when patience evolves into principle. Miss Sterling, he begins, his tone still warm but now anchored with gravity, you have spoken confidently about your work, your accomplishments, your time, and your value to this city. Bianca lifts her chin again, ready to speak, ready to defend, ready to insist. He raises one hand, not to silence her, but to give her the chance to listen. And no one here disputes that you may have built successful ventures, managed large projects, or contributed to the economy in measurable ways. He pauses. Every person in the courtroom watches him, not Bianca. That is not why we are here. Bianca's expression shifts. Confusion, brief and flickering, crosses her face. The first sign that the ground she believed she owned may not be as solid as she assumed. Judge Caprio continues, his voice softening in a way that does not release tension. It focuses it. We are here because your choices placed lives at risk. And more importantly, because you do not appear to understand the weight of that responsibility. Bianca opens her mouth, but no words come out. For the very first time she is not interrupting. Not correcting. Not asserting. She is listening. Judge Caprio stands. And the room reacts as though the temperature has changed several degrees. Respect is not measured by how much we earn, Miss Sterling. It is measured by how we treat those who cannot offer us anything in return. He takes a step closer, not towering, not imposing, simply present. When a child stands in a crosswalk, they trust that adults will protect them. When a citizen appears in this courtroom, they trust that the law will treat them fairly. That trust is what holds a community together. He meets her eyes, steady and unwavering. Your actions and your words here today broke that trust. Silence. Not empty silence. Decisive silence. The moment before judgment. Judge Caprio remains standing, hands resting lightly on the bench, the way one rests a hand on something that matters. Not to lean on it, but to honor it. Miss Sterling, he begins, the law does not ask us who we are. It asks us what we have done. Bianca swallows, her confidence no longer a shield, but a brittle surface that threatens to crack under the weight of the room's silence. You ran a red light in a school zone. Children were present. A crossing guard had to physically pull them back to safety. That alone is a serious violation. But what concerns this court more deeply, he gestures gently toward Mrs. Ruiz, is your response. Your refusal to acknowledge the danger. Your dismissal of the fear others experienced. Your insistence that your time and status outweigh their safety. Bianca's jaw tightens. She says nothing. Had you entered this courtroom with humility, Judge Caprio continues, this could have been resolved with a standard fine and a reminder of caution. Instead, you demonstrated a disregard for the very principles that keep your community safe. He opens the file once more, not to read from it, but simply to show it exists. The facts are not on trial. Her perspective is. For the violation itself, the fine is $500, he states. For speeding in a school zone, an additional $600. And because your license was not in your possession while driving, $100. Bianca's shoulders loosen slightly, she believes the worst has passed. Then Judge Caprio continues. However, given your conduct here today, your lack of remorse, and your repeated assertion that you are exempt from the standards of this community, the court is exercising its authority to increase the penalties. The room stills. Your total fine is increased to $2,750. Bianca's lips part in disbelief, but she stays silent. She finally understands she is no longer steering anything. Furthermore, Judge Caprio says, voice steady, your driver's license is suspended for 3 months, effective immediately. A quiet gasp moves through the room, not dramatic but deeply human. 3 months. 3 months of no shortcuts. 3 months of no special treatment. 3 months of being equal. Bianca blinks hard once. The first visible fracture in her certainty. But Judge Caprio is not finished. You will also complete 40 hours of community service assigned to a local school safety program. You will speak with crossing guards, with teachers, with parents, with children. And you will hear with your own ears why caution is not an inconvenience, but a duty. Bianca closes her eyes for a moment, and when she opens them, something is different. Not broken. Not defeated. Just quiet. Judge Caprio's voice softens, not to comfort her, but to teach her. This is not punishment, Miss Sterling. It is correction. Accountability is not meant to destroy. It is meant to restore what entitlement erodes: perspective. He looks at her not as a judge now, but as a human being speaking to another. I hope you use this time not to resent the consequences, but to understand the responsibility that comes with the privilege you've worked for. He sits. The sound of the gavel is not loud. It does not need to be. It carries weight because everyone in the room already knew the verdict before it fell. When Bianca Sterling leaves the courtroom, she does not leave the way she entered. Her steps are slower. Her gaze is no longer fixed outward but inward. The room does not celebrate her punishment, nor does it condemn her. It simply watches her walk away, a person confronted not by force but by truth. The lesson was never about a red light. It was never about fines or schedules or inconveniences. It was about the weight of choice. Every day, each of us moves through the world surrounded by others whose lives are just as real as ours, whose families matter just as much, whose time carries the same value. But we forget that. We rush, we assume, we prioritize ourselves. Until something, or someone, reminds us that respect is not owed to status. It is owed to humanity. Judge Caprio did not raise his voice, and he did not need to. His message was simple. No one stands above responsibility. No one stands beyond accountability. And no one stands alone. If you believe that dignity, humility, and justice still matter, take a moment to support the message. Subscribe and comment real judge stories to help share it further.